Hi, everyone. This is Steve Delasan, and welcome to this week's edition of CEOs You Should Know. I'm thrilled to be joined by Brigette Wolf, the Chief Marketing Officer of Mochi. Brigette, thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're so excited to jump into your journey and learn more about Mochi, too. So, to kick it off, I know you had a very interesting journey from investment banking to leading innovation at global food giants like Mondelez to now steering growth at Mochi. What inspired the shift from finance to food, and how has that really approached your leadership?
So I love food, so we can start
Who
with that
doesn't,
and
right?
love to eat. But it was really a CEO we were running an IPO for when I was doing investment banking. And he was so passionate about the consumers and what they care about and who they are. And it was completely inspiring to get into that. So CPG just became a natural extension. And then, like any job and anything, you start learning where your values are and how to treat people. And so, what kind of leader I want to be, and how do I want to empower people, and how do I want to trust people, and what, you know, excellence do you expect of them? So it all builds from one to the next.
That's awesome. And I know you've worked at massive corporations to nimble startups. What were different turning points or moments that really helped your perspective in brand building and that consumer connection?
So I was fortunate. I started off on very small brands like Stovetop, where you're like, people love it. And they're like, when was the last time you bought it? And so we had to talk about that. And then I got to work on signature brands like DiGiorno, but the keystone was Oreo. Everyone talks about the emotional
Of
connection
course.
and their memories of it, or the first time they had it, or who they have it with. And I think that to me was pivotal. Is how do you create such a deep, loving, emotional connection, just not to the product that everyone's like it's the best, but then to the brand and they experience it, that there just is nothing comparable to it.
That's awesome. Today's my daughter's birthday, and she requested an Oreo birthday cake.
There you
So I
go.
completely understand that perspective.
Yeah. And when you build something that iconic, it's how you stay relevant over time. How do you stay current with what consumers want to use you and how they want to approach you? So it's beyond just that product. You really are part of their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of brands like Oreo, such a legacy brand, looking at what you might have learned there, how did you apply those lessons to like that startup mentality?
Yeah. So I was thinking about this. It's no different in sports. We come back to fundamentals.
Yep.
And so we always want to know is who is your consumer? What do they care about? What do you offer them in their lives? And then how do you make it better? And so for us in My Mochi, we have this amazing experiential, like sensorial thing where we've got premium scoops of ice cream wrapped in this dough. You chew it, you hold it. So how do I connect with someone that way and explain it to them in a way that fits into their lives and
Sure.
it makes them happier?
And they're delicious.
And they're delicious.
Speaking at My Mochi, you're not only leading marketing, but also innovation, which is so important for every brand. How do you foster a culture that encourages bold thinking, creative, out of the box ideas, while obviously keeping up with the consumer growth and the consumer consumption?
It's always a balance because you have to say, well, can we do it? Right? Like, can we physically make it? And then the question is, should we do it? Because does anyone care? Like, there's a really cool harebrained idea, but are you going to actually buy it or anyone you know going to buy it? And then it's, can we make money in it? So I think there's that balance of kind of keeping a discipline there to how far to stretch it, but then being playful and saying, what could be possible if, and how might we do this? And, where could we stretch the brand? And some of it's really out there and some
Yeah.
of it's super close in. And so we just can play with it and say, what would give you more delight? What would bring more joy to someone? We all are about that eating experience and color and visual. So how do we do more?
I love that.
Yeah.
I know that we talked about this a little bit earlier, but you helped launch different ventures and you work closely with startups like Snack Futures and Colab. How did that experience help you as you lead teams and mentor other talent at a brand like Mochi?
So you always have to remember not everyone knows everything you're talking about. I
Very
was
true.
very privileged to have some kind of formal training in my CPG. So one is bringing everyone along that journey or terms. There is something incredibly powerful about startups. They are scrappy, they're courageous, they're bold, they move fast, sometimes chaotically. So how do we have that discipline to say, why are we doing what we're doing and checking ourselves and having some pause? But being willing to take those risks and try and test and learn. And you don't have to do everything. You just have to do enough where you learn something and then move forward. So there's really a beauty in the small that the big learn from, and then the big that can help the little.
Awesome. Let's go back to innovation. We know that
Yeah.
sometimes innovation can be seen as risky or resource intensive, right? What's been your approach to balancing those breaking through innovation with the commercial visibility?
It is about how can I do it small? If it's really out there, how can I manage the investment and the cost? Can we fail really quickly? Can we test it in a market or with a consumer group? And then being willing to pivot. You may have an amazing idea or an amazing product, and either we're not explaining it right or something in the delivery of that bundle is wrong and we need to go there. And then sometimes you have to just say, we love it, but we can't do it.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
Yeah.
Saying no is okay.
Absolutely. Maybe it's not right now, but
Right.
down the line.
Yeah.
I know something you say that I love is tasting the joy, and that's core, I know, to the My Mochi brand. How do you ensure that that translates through your marketing, through your product development, and the entire consumer experience?
Yeah. You need that red thread through everything that you do, every touch point. And we are now really assessing that from our packaging, our communications, our Instagram, the product. I mean, if we are not joyfully chill, and I was even in the airport with my sweatshirt and somebody asked me, what does that mean? And he's like, are they the same? I'm like, well, when I chill, I kind of feel joyful. So we have to make sure that we bring smiles, whether someone's on their own or with a bunch of people. And how do we elevate every interaction? Every day you deserve a little moment of joy, and we can help you
Absolutely.
do that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I know that the frozen food category in particular is a very competitive category. How do you prioritize in the CMO role long-term brand equity versus that short-term growth?
It is always a tension of, whether it's for investors, the market, that you want that growth. But the truth is, without long-term equity, you just have a cool product
Hmm.
and you don't have a brand and something more. And ultimately, when you have a really cool product, other competitors come in and they mimic you, and there's a
Very
me
true.
too. So the question is, how do I have a defense to say, well, I'm not only the original and I may be the best, which we are in our opinion, but we're also the one that knows our consumers the best and know and love you. And so you can trust us to do right by you. And that, to me, is where the loyalty is, because they're willing to try things. They're willing to advocate for us. Like, nothing is better than a consumer is like, this is the best thing in my day, and I'm just going to tell everyone that I know. That is when you've got equity, and then it pays back to the product.
Yeah, and you're bringing them that joy we talked
You
about.
bring them that joy.
Absolutely. I know you have such a big retail footprint and you do have a diverse flavor portfolio. How do you ensure that My Mochi is still both accessible and also different in a crowded marketplace?
Yeah. The first thing was actually when we launched My Mochi nationwide, it was really to democratize it and make it approachable and accessible. It's kind of funky, right? It has its roots in Japan. No one knows how it is. We talk about how do you pronounce it, right? It's different. So it's
That is
My
true.
Mochi. And some people are hesitant on that, or they see it and they think like it kind of looks interesting and we know it tastes delicious, but am I going to really enjoy it? So it's really making it colorful, playful. And in our flavors, it's kind of like 1 foot in the familiar and 1 foot in the unknown. You may not know what mochi is. It's that done, this soft, sweet dough that's actually pounded for good luck,
Oh, I didn't
historically.
know that.
Yeah,
Good fact.
and then our ice cream flavors are like cookie dough and cookies and cream and strawberry and mango. So they're not so scary. With birthday cake, like we can go on and on about our
Yeah,
flavors, but they
getting
really
hungry.
are something that someone can say, I understand what that is, and now I just get to experience it in a totally cool new way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about you. I know that one of the most challenging moments you faced in your career was either a brand or business perspective. How did you navigate that, and what did you learn from those different experiences?
You got to be kind to yourself, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. I think with everything is, what can I learn from it?
Sure.
I don't like pointing fingers. So the question is, if something goes wrong, the question is, well, how did I get there? And then how do I not repeat that again? Or how do we avoid it in the future?
Yep.
And sometimes that's a question of like, I thought I did everything right. And clearly somewhere along the way, I either did something wrong, misspoke, misled, confused, right? And that's part of just being human
Yeah.
and learning how to just figure out, okay, like there's only so long you can wallow in that one, move on, and let's fix it and go on.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Instead of beating yourself up, like how do you grow? How do you evolve from that?
Always.
I know you mentioned that your ethos is rooted in simplicity and humanity, right? How have those values allowed you to make tough decisions, especially being in such a high stakes leadership role?
It's really important. The simplicity piece is, what are we trying to achieve? What is our focus? And being able to prioritize within that. And being simpler helps explain some of those harder decisions versus the convoluted, long-winded answer that like I've just given you a nothing answer. So simplicity to me is really connected to also transparency and authenticity. I know they're really big buzzwords, but It's how do I tell you what I think is really going on, and how do I do it in a way that I would want to be spoken
Sure.
to and explain it to others. So
Yeah.
that's always important to me with every manager leader I've had is how would have I wanted to be treated on this, and then I get the opportunity to see if I can walk that talk now.
Yeah, I think that's a refreshing point of view too,
Yeah.
right? To have that personal connection to how you're relaying that message.
Yeah.
I always love asking this question for everybody that comes in. If you were to give advice to anyone that's tuning in that is thinking about creating a brand new product with an innovation, or they're thinking about entering into the marketing
hmm
profession, what advice would you give them? What advice do you wish you had when you first were starting out?
It's okay not to go as fast and have everything happen as much as you want. We all joke about our plans and our promotions and everything we want to achieve in life. And it really is a long journey. So being kind to yourself when stuff doesn't go as quickly as you wanted or didn't go the way you wanted to. For those that are creating new brands and businesses, God bless you. It is courageous and it's hard and an uphill thing. And there are days where you will feel victorious and days you will feel so alone. Um, but reminding yourself of those wins that you can do this and you show up to do it every day. And again, like my career now has been long. We're now in decades that we can talk about. And I don't think I appreciated how long that is and how you can really enjoy the ride.
That's awesome. Great advice. So, what is next for My Mochi? Are there any exciting developments or expansions you could tell us?
We're not going to talk about launches, but we got new flavors and we have our
Okay.
seasonals coming out. So go
Nice.
check them out from we've got an amazing caramel apple and our
Ooh, that
pumpkin
sounds
spice
good.
and our, hot chocolate. We can go on and on about those. We are working through innovation pipelines right now of how do we stretch those possibilities for My Mochi and bring more joy. And then on our marketing and communications is how do we elevate consumer experiences and touch points. So we will be at different events next year and this year, literally handing out My Mochi and hopefully elevating those
Nice.
points in your day.
Hopefully, at some iHeart events.
Yes.
So, what is one thing you want our listeners to take away about My Mochi's mission? What would that be?
It really is about sharing joy, spreading the joy, and tasting the joy. And you can do that every day by just trying a little bit yourself and, pass it on to someone else so we can pay it forward. We need more smiles and joy in the world, and we can all joyfully chill a little bit
Completely
more.
agree.
Yeah.
Um, we covered a lot.
Yeah.
Is there anything you feel like we might have missed that you want our listeners to know?
No, I think, our brand is to make you feel good. And if we're not delivering that, hold me accountable. I feel that way with our employees and my team, our partners here. We are supposed to make every interaction with us better and make you feel better for it.
Awesome. If someone's tuning in and they want to learn more about My Mochi or maybe try My Mochi, what should they do?
Go to mymochi.com and you can see where to buy any flavor that you want in the country. You can follow us on Instagram or on TikTok and Facebook. We're everywhere.
Well, I'm excited to try those seasonal flavors. They
Yeah.
sound delicious.
Yeah. They're amazing.
Well, Brigette, thank you so much for coming in. You
Thank
could
you.
tell by your passion and enthusiasm that you love what you do. And I think that's one of the most important things. And I'm excited to see what's next for My Mochi and your journey continuing.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you all for tuning in. Tune in to next week's edition of CEOs You Should Know.